All right, hello everyone. This is Josh, also known as Yashu, and we're just tuning into the 87th episode of the TLOY Talks podcast. You know, we're almost at 90 right now and all that too, and it's like a blessing that have right now and all that. So definitely stay tuned for the next coming episodes too. Definitely check in and celebrate with us as you can and all that. But you can get this on all platforms: Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, much more and all that. I'm just gonna get started right here and all that too. So definitely one of the rising underground R&B acts coming from Toronto and from Durham region. With a lot of stuff the Indigo Project. He also has a lot of other stuff such as Loving You, For Nothing, Circles, and Free. Has worked with the likes of Joyia, Aria Blue, Zero Hype. He's set to release a new single soon and all that too. So we have Chris Chand on the pod today. How are you doing today, man?
Not too bad, brother. Thank you for having me. This is cool.
Yeah, man. I mean, we actually tapped in from Matt, after I released the Matt Knudsen podcast and all that. Reached out and I checked out the music from there and all that, and it's just pretty dope from there and all that. And
thank you, brother.
I've been checking out the projects and all the other type of stuff too. One thing that kind of intrigued me is that you actually worked with Joyia and all that, who's one of I think the polarizing R&B acts coming from Toronto and all that too. And it's amazing to see how talent can connect and all that.
It's true, man. Honestly, with Joyia, I've never actually met. Well, I met Joyia once, and we actually met at a concert one time. But that's not how we actually even met to make the song. To be honest, with Joyia, it was around the pandemic, and I was working on Indigo. And around that time, I was like, you know what? I could either release this EP by myself and have no features on it, or I can try and connect with people and try and branch out a bit more and see what happens. And I was looking for female vocals around the time, and I was like, all right, cool. Who are some R&B singers that I like and listen to? And I want to shine a light on the local scene as well. So I was like, all right, cool. Let me ask Joyia and see if she wants to be a part of it, or if she thinks if it's shit, then we'll keep moving. But she was cool with it, and she killed it. She added some production, and yeah, man, she bodied it on her first try, and I think it's one of my favorite songs on that project.
Yeah, no, for sure. No, it was just interesting too because I've actually seen her perform live a couple years back at Paradise, a theater, which is a venue at Bloor and Ossington and all that, and she had a very dope set and all that too. Had people perform a live band and all that, and it's just kind of amazing to see and all that. But
she's killing it, man.
Yeah, for sure. Nah, but I want to get into your story for a bit too. So, growing up in Scarborough and Durham region, what was the environment for you growing up? Would you say it was a great childhood, or would it be very different?
Honestly, I would say looking back at it now, I definitely had a good childhood for sure. There were definitely probably every family has its issues. I came from a divorced family, but at the same time, I find that there are other people that are going through way worse shit than what I went through. So for me to call it a bad childhood is that's reaching. But I think I had a good childhood. I have a really good family who endlessly supports whatever I'm doing, even if it's not what they agree with. They're always fully on my team with that. So I'm very lucky, very lucky.
No, for sure, man. And I mean, Scarborough, it has an amazing music scene and all that too. Durham, they have some good acts, Keisha Fresh and Solo YS and all those other people too, and then Matt Knudsen and just see the Dreamer as well too. But in those same areas, growing up, was it big for music at the time, just as an industry area, or just as a community at the time?
That's a good question. I feel when I was maybe 6-7 years old, I don't think I paid too much attention to what the industry, what was popping in the industry, to be honest. I just knew that there weren't many people that looked like me. And I wanted to change that. I was like, oh, well, mostly it's white artists, black artists, which is awesome. But I was like, I want someone that looks like me to be on the scene as well, and also not because I find in TV and movies and stuff like that, brown guys are Apu from The Simpsons, or always some side character to the main guy, and I've always been wanting to change that narrative and show that we can do this shit too.
Yeah, no, I mean I definitely see it more within music nowadays too, and even with movies. I think like one thing that did change the narrative was like Slumdog Millionaire and all that,
Yeah.
with like Dev Patel and all that,
Yeah, man.
showcasing his character and everything else too. I mean, even with music, I mean, you'll have like the Punjabi MCs and all that, and
Right.
like the Yo Honey Sins and all that too. But then you
Yeah.
have like like the whole like Punjabi like hip hop scene, like
Right.
Divine, Karan Aujla and all that.
Yeah.
Sidhu Moosewala, and then it could also like translate to like R&B and all that too. I think Jai Paul, who's like also like
Yeah. He's crazy too.
one known artist. Who else? I mean, MIA, like Paper Planes, like that was like a vibrant like sound and all that too.
Yeah.
So I definitely see like the whole like change and rebrand from like artists that were seen as like stereotypes to people who have a creative like edge to them and all that, and it's
Yeah.
amazing to see,
And like even like with like kids, like I'm envious of the kids nowadays because they have like so many options to pick from in regards to the music that's out there. Like there's so many things to like explore and listen to. Like I feel like when I was 6 years old, I didn't have like a Playboy card. There were no Playboy cardies when I was 6 years old. And if there was, it wasn't labeled as that, or it was completely different. So I don't know. I think like my cousins and like the younger generation growing up, they got a lot of cool stuff to listen to and a lot to dig through. So it's cool.
Sure. I mean, in my opinion, always felt like Kanye was like the first like Playboy Cardi too, because he was like
Right.
someone that was like defied the norm and all that, like
Right.
within like music and all that too. Because around that time, you've had like nonchalant like gangster hip hop and all that, and then
Yeah.
here comes Kanye with like a whole like different sound and all
Different
that too. And like others like have tried to make it work, like Mos Def, like Black Star, Talib Kweli, Erykah Badu, but like
Right.
it didn't become like polarizing until Kanye did and all that. And
It's true. He really changed the game when and that's another like motivational person, man. Like someone to like learn from as well. Like I don't know, as an artist, it's the thing you can take away from Kanye is to like own your shit and like be
Yeah.
confident in it. And yeah, man, no one could change it. No one could change that shit.
For sure. Just getting back like on topic for a bit too.
Yeah,
So you actually dropped out of Durham College and then you went to Centennial and then you met like Matt Knudsen and all
Yeah.
that too. So and I think you obtained a diploma like in music at Centennial and all that.
Yeah. So with Durham, at first I went for music business, and that was the first at least idea that I had of like getting my foot in that door to like learn what happens behind the scenes. But I found for the most part, like I'm not really the manager type. I'm not. I mean, it's good to know those things for sure, but I'm more the type to like if you give me an instrument, I'll go play it in the middle of the room. And I wasn't too happy, especially because I don't know. I think Durham College went on strike around the time I was in school, and it was just like a lack of motivation. I was like, all right, cool. Like this is it's not working out for me. Let me try something else. And then a couple of years went by, and I found that Centennial was doing like this music industry arts performance program, and I was like, all right, this sounds pretty cool. So I signed up for that, and you have to audition to get into the school. So I was nervous about that because I didn't really, as an artist, you always kind of second guess yourself and your abilities and your skills. So I practiced a couple songs with my uncle, and he'd make sure I was on that shit. And I went in, did my audition, got a call back, and there's like, yo, you're in now. And I mean, now fast forward to the first day of school is where I meet Matt. And honestly, I'm a very shy guy, man. Like I know I yap a lot and I talk a lot when I'm in public, but for the most part, I'm a quiet kid. I'm shy and I speak when I'm spoken to. But I remember when I saw Matt, instantly I kind of knew, all right, me and this guy are gonna be cool. He was wearing like a Red Hot Chili Pepper shirt, and I was like, yeah, no, this guy, I fuck with this. I fuck with the vibes. And then we actually got paired up for our first assignment, and we got put into a band together. And I think from there, Matt and I started to like be cool with each other. We actually ended up living close to each other, so we'd always go out, hang out, smoke, chill, and yeah, music didn't come up until later on.
For sure. And I'm guessing with school life and all that too, because like I mean Durham, like it has like a unique sound, like
Yeah.
a unique style and all that. Like I went to UIT from like 2014 to like 2018 and all that, which
Right.
is now called like Ontario Tech U and all that. But I would like go to Durham and like it would be like an interesting like vibe and all that to see like a lot of people. Like you'll have like your parents, your single moms and all that go to school and all that. Then
Yeah.
you have the creative kids and then the people playing football and all that too,
It's
and like
true.
all that type of stuff as well too. So I guess like school life in like Durham and like even like Centennial was like very like interesting and all that.
Honestly, I would say it was definitely interesting for sure. It was like my first like especially with Durham because it was right out of high school. again, high school, I was the quiet kid. I didn't really talk much. No one really knew that I was a singer, unless you saw me in choir. But honestly, Durham, man, like I liked the experience of that because of it was a taste of I don't know, almost like the adult life, I guess. And I don't know, it was a cool experience because I also got to like do like this radio show, and I was like a host on it for a bit, which was another stepping stone of something I want to do in the future as well. So getting that opportunity, to just be like a campus host and have that kind of first stepping stone was nice. But honestly, I will say Centennial does like win between the two, if I'm gonna be honest, just because I met so many talented creatives that like should be famous right now. You know what I mean? And I 100% believe that they will be in the future. I definitely agree. But yeah, man, like those it's literally just a group of misfits that love music, and yeah, it's so cool. Some people are like you said, single parents, some people are a little older and younger. But yeah, man, everyone's just vibing and trying to get to the same goal, which is fire.
Yeah, I remembered like a time like even like in school and all that too, because I remembered my time like in school from like 2014 to like 2016, 2017 and all that too. So basically what happened in like UIT Durham and all that is that they cut like ties to like I think pro Israel like foundation and all that
Mm,
too, which is like kind of more within like foundation with like money like in support of like Palestine at that time too. And then
for sure.
basically what happened is that I think there were like some people that might have had like some issues with it. Like it had like controversy. It was also known for like also like striking like the whole like Durham transit thing.
Yeah,
With the bus passes and all that type of
right.
stuff too. Because like, this is like when the two schools were connected with the same student association. And
Mm,
then basically it kind of like led to decrease in like funding for like student services and activities like campus fest and all that type of stuff too. So
right.
like it's interesting like in different areas and all that.
For sure. For sure.
Nah, for sure. But getting more like into your story for a bit, like what was like the first actual like album or song that made you like fall in love with like music and all that?
Ooh. I think it's probably gonna be like a Beatles album, to be honest. More specifically, I think it's the Beatles Love album. Um, it's this big thank you to my uncle, honestly. Yeah, I owe it all to my uncle Sanjay. He's a big reason as to why I do this music thing, and he put me onto a lot of music growing up. And I would say, yeah, like it's to a point I literally have the Beatles tattooed on
Ah,
my
sure.
arm, to be honest. But yeah, I think it would be the Beatles Love album that's always got a special place in my heart.
For sure. I mean, Abbey Road's like also like a good project too.
Yeah,
Sgt. Pepper's also like another classic as well too. So yeah,
yeah,
they had like a lot of classics, like the one project which is like the
yeah.
greatest hits and all that. Like that was like all dope and all that.
I
So
will I will say though, if there was gonna be like a specific song like that like really defined like, oh damn, I want to do that, it's probably "Rock with You" by Michael Jackson though. Like I remember like the album definitely Beatles wins, but I remember watching the "Rock with You" music video for the first time, and my dad put it on, and I was like, I want to do that. Like that's what I want to do in the future. I don't know how, but I will.
for sure. Nah, I
I
know
don't
what you mean.
dance though. I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, man. And back onto like the whole like schooling thing and all that too. With going to school like for like music and all that, do you feel that going to school for a program like you liked helped you in your music career in a sense too?
Mm. Honestly, yeah, for sure, man. Like, especially with that Centennial program, like they're really hands on with whatever you're trying to do, and I like the courses that they give you because there's like this, like how you learn how to play piano. There's like an intro to Logic, so you know how to use the program, and it's just yeah, I don't know. It just got me more confident in myself and my abilities because I've always had an ear, and like even right now as we speak, there's like music in my head, and I could get it out if and that's how it works. There's always music playing. Just a matter of what do you want to get out. But yeah, I would say Centennial really got me confident in just like being able to get those ideas out and put them onto Logic, and then be able to kind of like mess around with that.
Oh,
Definitely.
nice. And in terms of like the artists and like genres, like based on your influence, like who are you like mainly like influenced by like within your music, and who'd you like to like work with like someday and all that?
Ooh, I'm definitely I would say as of recently more like Steve Lacy, Tyler the Creator, Omar Apollo. Just definitely that more alternative R&B world with some like soul, I would say. Who do I want to work with in the future? Honestly, those guys, Steve Lacy for sure, Tyler the Creator. I want to work with Pharrell. I want to work with Stevie Wonder. and Quincy Jones.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like all like talented artists too and all that. I think
Yeah.
because of their own lane and how like they're so open to being like creative and like experimenting with different sounds too, and especially like with Tyler, like after like Cherry Bomb and all that too, because like when he had like those like previous projects like Flower Boy and all that,
Yeah.
Ego or Call Me If You Get Lost and all that too, like you do see like a creative direction that he's going to instead of like what he was like doing like when he was like younger and angsty and all that.
Yeah, man. And I just like especially you know what I mean? Like that's when we first, well, at least even for me specifically, I remember seeing that Yonkers video, and just being completely like terrified by it. But also kind of like, yo, this is sick. Like I like the music behind this. And then just like, seeing the growth from that video onwards is so inspiring and just like makes you want to just like, all right, cool, let me go make a beat real quick. But honestly, he's one of the guys that like when it comes to like multifaceted artists and versatile artists, he's one of the big ones for sure. And I really love Childish Gambino, and I also love Blood Orange as well. Those three guys are like, those guys are killers, man. Those guys go off.
I know what you mean too. And in terms of your stage name and all that too, like how do you get it like Christian and all that?
Honestly, so it's just my name, to be honest. Like I wanted to keep it real. At first, like I was gonna come up with some kind of name, to like hide my identity and like try and like keep it on the low. But I was like, you know what, let's be real with it. And for me, I was like, it would been, because I always think about like my family back home and stuff like that. I'm like, all right, when like they go on Spotify and Apple Music and they see this Chris John, like it was the name I was given, so I was like, you know what, let's own it, let's use it, and let's put it out in the world.
It's not. I mean, having your own name like definitely like works out and all that. I mean, Kanye did that and all that. Dev Hines actually, who like he'll interchange from like Blood Orange to like Dev Hines and all that too. But yeah, I mean, even what else? Pharrell, Pharrell Williams and all that,
And, like Childish, and even like Childish Gambino to Donald Glover.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean, man. In terms of your creative process, what's it like, when making music, and like what would like a day in the studio be like for you?
It depends on the day. Really, I think there's some days where I'm ready to go into the studio and I know what I want to make and how it's gonna sound. But I think there's other days where it's more of like the spur of the moment. It just comes randomly. Like for example, I'll be chilling with my brother in his room, and it'll be time for him to like go to sleep because he's got work in the morning or some shit. And I'll be like, all right, cool. So I go in my room and it's either I sleep or I find some shit to do. And, sometimes I'll stay up, and that's where I'll start fucking around with sounds and see what happens. And then there'll be, next thing you know, 2 hours goes by and I'm just adding shit. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, so some days it's planned and I'm like, all right, cool, that's what's going to happen. Some days it's more like, all right, well, it's more of it just pops up naturally.
True. And I know like some people like in the studio and all that. Like I don't know if you're like in a home studio or if you go to like certain studios like in the city and all that too. So
yeah, man. Honestly, I would say like I used to go to a lot of studios within the city, like Lynx, and like even just like what was it called, Rehearsal Factory on Geary. But yeah, and big shout out to Centennial again for those, because they I had all like made connections while being at Centennial, so it did help me out when I had left, which was nice. But right now I'm currently in a home studio, and I think I like it a bit better, to be honest, because I'm at the comfort of my own home, and it's literally in my bedroom. It's only 5 steps away, and it's really chill. And again, like my family's super supportive, so I could be singing at the top of my lungs, and they're vibing.
No, 100%. I know like usually for certain studios too, like there's like certain like studio rules and all that.
Yeah.
Like not having too many people and all that too, or if you're not creative, then what's your purpose and all that too. I don't know if you have like studio rules like when it comes to like the process.
Honestly, because I live so far away, man, I haven't really had the chance to have many people over for like studio sessions as much as I would like to. But that is something that I would like to do in the future. I also do want to tap into like the music scene around where I am, which is like more north of here, I would say. And I don't know, I just want to, just kind of get that ball rolling too. Because I mean, if I was to have people over, I don't know if I would have rules like that. Like, even if you're not doing anything musically related, like, I mean, hey, hold a camera and get some behind the scenes. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I mean, even then, if it is true, I do agree. If if you're not there for any creative reason, then I think it can be seen as a distraction.
Yeah.
But at the same time, hey man, if you're here for the vibe, you're here for the vibe.
Yeah,
Let's...
no, me too. And do you like experiment like certain styles like when like recording and all that too? Because I've had people like that came on the pod before like that talked about like smoking, drinking, or like even like having like a candle in the room too, or eating certain
Yeah.
foods and all that. Like I don't know, like how's like that process like when even?
It was I'm not gonna lie, man. I've gotten way better with it. Like I used to smoke way too much like last year, and I've cut down quite a bit to be honest. So it's definitely something that like I used to go like it was bad. Like I would smoke like a bong before doing a vocal take and then wonder why my vocal doesn't sound good. And then all these little things and it would just just make me feel like I kind of like feel shitty that I'm like, "Oh, it's not sounding the way I want to sound. How do I fix it?" And I was like, "All right, well, maybe cut down on smoking and see what your voice sounds like." I tried that out and I think it's been working well so far to be honest. Like for me like I don't know, like even like vaping and stuff like that, I'll try and like not do that before recording and like
True.
see it as like a reward. It's like, all right, get the shit done first
Yeah.
and then do what you got to do.
Do you ever feel like you've made like the most like unique stuff, when not being in that element versus like being in that element?
Yeah, for sure. Like I genuinely think like I don't know. I've had times where I've made something really cool under the influence, but there's also times where it just sounds like garbage and it's not gonna be ever coming out into the world. But I don't know. I think a sober approach is probably the best way, to be honest, because it's the clearest state of mind.
Oh, true.
But yeah, man,
Oh, for sure.
I'd definitely lean more towards sober, Chris.
I know what you mean. And I mean to even like get more onto the creative stuff and all that too, like Indigo, Loving You, For Nothing, Circles, and Free. Like what like the whole like creative processes and inspiration and stuff for that stuff.
Honestly, man, those songs came from a breakup, two different breakups too. Well, at least Loving You and Three were from a different era. Yeah, I find like even like with the Indigo project, like that started off as like I just finished being in like this long distance situationship thing. I don't even know what you call it, but that's what we'll call it. But that just finished, and the second wave of the pandemic was just starting, and I just moved in with my grandparents, and I was surrounded by just like a shit ton of instruments, and I was like, all right, well, I can either let my mental health slip and just succumb to this whole pandemic thing, or I can just lock in and work on something. And I'd never dropped an EP before, and it was something that I wanted to do, especially because I'd never produced before at that point. Like Indigo was like my first beats that I'd ever made, and those are my shitty beats. I would say like I'm proud of them, but I've gotten way better since then, to be honest. And yeah, man, I would say like Loving You 333. That's yeah, again came from a breakup, more recent, I would say. Yeah, I was in a pretty tough spot, I would say. I feel like I hit rock bottom, not gonna lie. And I really wanted to find some way to express what I was feeling. And I mean, the songs aren't necessarily sad or anything like that, but they definitely came from a place of hurt for sure. I mean now it's been a minute since then, to be honest, but I'm past it, to be honest, and I hope she's doing all good and shit. But I'm proud of the work that I was able to make during that shitty time. And it also like showed me, I also learned like more about myself, that like, damn, even if you're like in rock bottom, you're still him, and like you can still get out. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Just like keep your head straight.
I couldn't help but notice you're deep in thought, probably brainstorming ideas for your next music project, am I right?
Yeah, I've been thinking about shooting a music video for my latest track, but I'm not sure where to start.
Well, Max, you're in luck because I have just the solution for you. Have you heard about Y2A3 Productions?
Can't say I have. What's so special about them?
Only everything. Y2A3 Productions is the go-to for up-and-coming artists like yourself. They're all about helping talents like you win over audiences with their unique visual style, and get this, at super affordable rates.
Affordable rates, you say? That sounds almost too good to be true. But what about the quality?
Oh, Max, you won't be disappointed. Y2A3 Productions has a reputation for delivering top-notch quality that rivals the big names in the industry. Plus, they're all about collaboration, ensuring your vision shines through every frame.
That sounds amazing. But how do I know they're the right fit for me?
Max, trust me when I say Y2A3 Productions is more than just a production company, they're your creative partners. They'll work tirelessly to understand your style, your message, and bring it to life in a way that resonates with your audience.
Well, you've certainly piqued my interest, Ava. I think I'll give Y2A3 Productions a call and see what magic we can create together.
You won't regret it, Max. Get ready to take your music to the next level.
Kind of like a little bit of like Taylor Swift's like effect and all that too, because I know Taylor would like do like these like breakup songs and all that too when she's like dealing with certain people and all that. It has changed now with like this new project too, so I definitely see like where it's like coming with like many artists too, like when they see like that whole like Taylor Swift effect and like all that type of stuff.
Yeah, man. No, I ripped the page out of our book. That was
Nah, I know what you mean, man. You have like an upcoming single coming up. So tell me more about that in terms of like the creative process and like inspiration and like what people can expect.
Yeah, man. This next song is called "Passenger Princess." I don't know why I called it that. I think it's because of the artwork. To be honest, it's just a picture of my car, and I just like how simple it is, and like the passenger princess. I mean, there isn't one at the moment, ladies. But I was gonna say, I don't think I'm looking for one either at the moment, to be honest. But I'm also not. If something comes my way, I'm not gonna like push it away. But I'm also not going out of my way to look for something. There's definitely some shit I gotta work on. But I think with this new single, you guys can definitely hear a different side of me, and I'm definitely opening up and being more confident in myself and what I'm able to do. And yeah, man, like my speaking voice is pretty low like this, but my voice it sounds like Prince. Is kind of what it sounds like, I would say. And it's like the blend of influences kind of ranges from like George Michael, Prince, Omar Apollo, Steve Lacy kind of vibe, and it just kind of sounds like something you'd listen to. I mean, if you're single and if you're crushing on someone, or if you're with someone, this is something like you vibe to and dance with. So I'm excited for people to check it out, especially with the nicer weather coming up.
For sure. Do you have like an expected like release date for it and all that?
Yeah, well, not a set release date, but a week for sure. Like I wanted to drop the last week of May, just right before June starts, and that that summer weather comes out, and when people are outside, kind of creating that summer movie for themselves.
Nah, for sure. So like I know we already talked about like Joyia for a bit too, but you've also worked with like Aria Blue and Zero Hype and all that. How did those two come about, and how was the experience like working with them?
Man, with Aria, it was okay. So with Aria, I actually met her again. Well, actually, Aria and I've never met before, but we connected through DM again around the time I was working on Indigo, and I had just worked on the song Your Heart, and at first I was just gonna leave it as just a single with me on it and no feature. But around that time, I was working with a company. I'm not gonna say their names because they're not cool. But I was working with this big company. They're an R&B platform. You might have seen them on Instagram, but we don't like them. But yeah, they introduced me to Aria just because they would always post like these big artists and stuff like that who were popping on the scene. And I remember I'd done some work for this platform, and I didn't get any compensation for it, and I kind of just got like screwed up in that end. So I was like, all right, cool. If he's not gonna support me that way, then I'll work with your favorite artists, and you can support me that way. You know what I mean? And it was kind of petty, to be honest, because I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna get the last laugh eventually. And honestly, it turned out that Aria had already been listening to some of my stuff, which was cool because, man, I come from a small town. I don't think I'm the most special artist. So when people from different places are reaching out and they're cool with it, like, it means a lot. So when Aria was on board to hop on the song, yeah, man, I felt like an evil villain plotting on the world. Like I knew, like, okay, cool, I know what this project's about to become, especially like my first project and it being like the first things I'd ever produced. But yeah, man, Aria, she's a killer, man. I know we're gonna be working on some stuff in the future, so definitely keep an eye out for that. But with Zero Hype, man, that's my boy Rudy. I haven't seen him in a minute. But yeah, we went to high school together, and he's actually the guy that really got me into recording and releasing music. Like he was the first person I ever did anything with in the music industry. Like he actually like helped me write a feature for his song, and that song I think has like 100K streams for him. And then honestly, it was like motivating for me because I wanted to release music but didn't know how to. So I had this homie who showed me the way, and then from there I started doing my shit, and then yeah, man, it took off. So big shout out to Rudy as well.
Sure. Have you received like, aside like from like getting like the feature money and all that, have you received like compensation from the streams like in general too?
Yeah. I mean, hey man, like Spotify and Apple Music's like the way that they do the whole streaming, the royalties and stuff like that, it could be fixed. I mean, 100% I'm getting paid for the work for sure. But is it enough to pay all of the bills? Nah, not at the moment. But it will be one day.
Oh, and I think like they've tried making a petition about that. Like I don't know if you've heard about it recently, where there were like some people like in Congress, like in the U.S., like that wanted to change the whole like pricing system for like Spotify and Apple Music, so that artists can be like paid like a little bit more and all that too. So
no, that'd be awesome, man. Because like, and that's the thing. Like I understand a business has to operate, and I understand, you know, it's not up to a single person. You know, there's a whole team of people deciding this shit, and you know, I just want everyone to be cool. Like, you know, while like Spotify and Apple Music, they still make their money, but artists are able to survive and eat as well. I wish there was some kind of middle ground. But yeah, man, you know, one day we'll be able to deal with that.
Yeah, sure. And I mean, some companies have done it too, like in certain effects. I mean, like, you know, like TikTok with Universal Music Group, like removing their music from TikTok so that artists can be like compensated like a little bit more and all that too. And I mean, it's also like a plus for independent artists too, so their music can be like platformed on like another like level and all that too with TikTok. But others use like certain sounds and all that too, so just kind of depends.
No, it's true, man. And I don't know. I'm hoping that that's what the future looks like. You know, and there's been so many changes. Like at least since I've started doing music, I think I started like 2019. I mean, since then there's been so many like ups and downs with this whole music industry thing. But honestly, I feel like eventually it's got to be some kind of like settle, and we'll all be good.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, you're actually in a record label at one point too, and you know, what was like the difference from just like being in a label versus like being independent, like in that experience?
Honestly, it was a cool learning experience, man. I've always found that even going through a label, there is still some fun with it. I don't know if I necessarily like I don't know. As an artist, I have this vision in my head, and I know how the vision looks. And it's okay if other people, it's not that they don't see it, but they're not seeing it the way that I do. And sometimes I think it's just it's better to get the job done by yourself. I will say though, what I love being you know, I love the label because it was a small team, and honestly, they're doing a good thing, man. Like they have a couple artists on their rosters, and again, I think there are two people that are gonna kill it, like Eliza Plaza, Amaka. Yeah, man, two talented female artists. They're gonna go crazy with it. But with the record label, man, like they really did help me. You know, with funding for things, photo shoots, you name it, man. Like I felt like I was on the right track. You know, and I felt like this cool big artist, and it was a nice feeling, man. But I will say I find a lot of peace in being able to control it myself.
Yeah,
You
no, 100% too. Because I know with labels, like they'll take 100% of the responsibility to handle like all the other matters too, and like for the artists just to focus on like music and all that too. So like they'll do like the PR, they'll do the photo shoots, they'll do like the meetups, the shows, all that type of stuff too. And then versus like someone who's like independent, like you have to kind of like set up like everything like with yourself and all that too. So there are like a lot of like differences like on when
and honestly, I would say like that's a pretty like it's the hardest thing that I have to deal with right now. I think is just being like the one man team. Like for me, like again, like creating is always the easiest part. I just hate talking about myself, I think. Like in regards to like, I have this new song out, go check it out. And I just feel like there's gotta be like this middle ground of like being humble but owning your shit and being like, yo, I do this. You know what I mean? But I still have to find that.
I know what you mean, man. And you know, to even speak more about like song writing like in a way too, like what do you think makes a great song and all that? And how do you feel about like song structure and like and arrangements and all that?
Damn, what makes a great song? Honestly, man, I think a song that can make you feel something, like what like it can make you feel happy, make you feel sad, or bring you to a certain memory from your past. Like I think that can make a great song. I mean, of course, like the chords and the arrangement of things, and also just like little, I don't know, just little special things that aren't necessarily supposed to be heard but get caught. I don't know. I think things like that definitely make a song great. In regards to like song structure and arrangements and stuff like that, I definitely think it helps for sure, because you never want a song to be, just straight the one beat, or like, just the same rhythm and then, melody and stuff like that. So it's nice to switch it up and give the listener a bit of a switch. That's why I love like key changes and stuff like that, because I don't know, it's so gross. I love it.
I know what you mean. I know for me too, like I think like just like having like certain arrangements within different parts is like an amazing part too, and like a lot of artists have done that as well too. I don't know if you know like Apocalyptica, which is like Finnish like Swedish based like rock ensemble and all that too, and like they do like violins, they do like strings, like all that type of stuff too. And like one of their songs, I Don't Care, featuring like Adam Gontier of like 3 Days Grace. I feel like that was like one example of like great song structure and like just like a unique presence too, because they have like different like bridges and gaps and like takes within the choruses and all that too, different like riffs, and like at the end they did like a little bit of a piano like bit for a bit too, and like they merged that with like the vocals from like Adam's like song, because he has like more of like a raspy type vocals like from 3 Days Grace and all that, and also with the strings coming in at the beginning, like that's like a vibrant like song at the beginning too. I think one of Drake's songs too, like the one where I think Stevie Wonder like played the harmonica and all that. Yeah, that was also like a great song too, because like I was like listening to it like when I was like working out at the gym too, and like it was just like that ending part where he had the harmonica, like it was a different vibration melody, and it's like wow, it's
honestly, and then that's the thing, man. It's like if the listener doesn't expect it, it's a way better. It's like a high risk, high reward. You know what I mean? Like because sometimes like again, like as an artist, you're gonna second guess yourself and be like, is this cool? Is this shit? Honestly, and then that's the thing. I think you just gotta be risky with it and just try it out and see what happens. And 9 times out of 10, it works.
I know what you mean. And I mean, I've like noticed that like when I was like, because I also work out too, so like I listen to like a lot of songs too, and all that. Like I mean, Danny Brown, like that was like the first artist like I was like listening to like working out at the gym and all that too, and like hearing like the first song on Carranza and all that. It's like shit, that's crazy. And like I mean, Nicki Minaj, Drake, like they're like great songs to work out to that have like those like unique like song structures too, because I feel like when you work out, like when you like do your thing and all that too, and like you take in like the song, it's like wow, it's like the way that they like made this song, the way that they kind of process everything, it's like amazing to see and all that too.
100%. It just gets you like pumped up, like you know what I mean, like like I mean, there's been times when I'm at the gym and like I've listened to like not like sad songs, but like more slower shit, and I'm just like, yeah, this is not the vibe. I gotta put on some like Sugar Free. This is fire.
I know what you mean. In terms of your creativity and all that, what were like some of your favorite songs to create and like why and all that?
Ooh, I mean, I like to create anything, to be honest, especially because I grew up listening to a lot of different genres. Like I can make stuff that sounds like, I mean, shit, I don't really want to, but I was gonna say I can make stuff that sounds like country. I can make stuff that like, I like making hip hop stuff for people. I don't necessarily hop on the beat myself, but I like to, be more the producer on that kind of stuff. But for me, what I like to create for myself is more, I would say, like disco, R&B, funk, and soul. Like I just want to bring the old school back, but also kind of create like an old school, new school fusion. And just kind of keep that shit going.
No, I know what you mean, man. And we're getting onto like this like very like serious like topic for a bit too. So being in English and like Indian and all that too, like and like especially like an artist, like what's that process like assimilating like that culture in your genre of music? And have you ever felt like it was like hard at first to attain like acceptance and approval from your peers and all that, like at first?
Honestly, at first, I don't think it was hard, to be honest, because I think like especially being in a music oriented family, I was already able to like sing and play instruments at a young age. So by the time that I was showing that to my friends, I think there was already some kind of like connection with them, vibing with it, and then supporting whatever I was doing. I don't think I've ever gotten, you know, like I don't think my music's ever been frowned upon because of where I'm from or what I look like, and I'm happy for that, to be honest, because I feel like people do that. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I don't know. I just like that there feels like some kind of unity, like and for me too, when it comes to like my background, I do try and add like little Indian vocal things and try and pass it off as like R&B or like different. But yeah, man, I don't know necessarily on the English side. Like I don't think I've really tried, to like sing in an accent. I although I think it does come out sometimes. Like when I sing, there's this weird UK accent that comes out. I don't know where it comes from, but yeah, man, I think they just they naturally pop out when they have to.
No, I know what you mean, and I mean we talked about this like earlier and all that too, like within the standard for like Desi artists to like make it in the mainstream music industry. I mean, it has worked with like Nav and like MIA and like Jai Paul and all that too. And like before, with Punjabi MC and all that, and like other people like Sidhu Moosewala, Garano Jula and all that. Do you ever feel like there is like that standard, like by any chance?
I personally don't think there's a standard. I mean, there could be, and maybe like an unwritten standard for like people in the music industry. But I mean, personally speaking, I don't. I mean, for me, all I look for in an artist is that you're authentic and genuine to not only yourself but to the craft. But yeah, man, I don't think there's necessarily a standard. Just make good music for people to vibe to. I don't think you necessarily have to change the genre or push it to a certain place, but just do what makes you comfortable and happy. And I don't know, others see that and they kind of gravitate towards it, to be honest. So I don't think there should be. I don't think there needs to be a standard.
I'm just rechanging like the next question to kind of make it more like Toronto based and all that too. But earlier, like in the previous interview with Studio 01, you talked about your thoughts on the Toronto music scene too and all that, and you gave your points on collaborating, unity and all that too. Do you still hold those like same thoughts to now as opposed to before and all that, or do you feel like you've noticed like some issues that you want to like address and all that?
I would say for the most part I do agree with what I said, in regards to there being a music community in Toronto, because there is, man. And I think I love it, to be honest, because I do think Toronto should be looked at like an LA or New York or like a Chicago, Atlanta. Like I think Toronto should be listed among those cities that have that talent, because we do. And I don't know, I will say there are people in the industry that definitely ruin it for everybody else and that can make it less fun to be in. But at the same time, karma's a bitch and it does bite back pretty hard. But yeah, man, I love the tight-knit music community. I will say though, as someone that used to be like I felt like an outsider before, because like I wasn't like reaching out to people and not messaging and stuff like that. So it can seem like people are against you because you're on the outside, but 9 times out of 10 people are really inviting, man, and open to working with you. And I think really what the thing is just you got to bring something to the table. And if there's something that could be brought to the table and then something that could be worked with, there's no reason why we can't work together. You know what I mean?
Likewise. And I mean with the whole like R&B scene in Toronto, like it is like more improved than now and all that. There's like hundreds of thousands of artists like blowing up and all that, like Raheem and all that, Chantel May, Daniel Caesar's like still doing this thing, Looney, Lisa, and I mean even with some of the new acts too, and I feel like the R&B scene is like growing and all that too, like with the rap stuff and like all the other scenes. It all like kind of depends. Like if you're talking indie, like you'll have like Valley, you have like Pup and all that, Cancer Bats with rap, a blend like here and there with like Hawaii Mighty, Connor Price and all that, and it all depends on like where you're trying to go out and all that too, like, and it all depends on like how like that correlation and that unity might be formed, like in a way for everyone to kind of tap in and all that.
No, for sure, man. And it's just so cool because if you think about it, like from Oshawa to Toronto, what is it? About like 30 to 40 minutes of a drive almost. Within that range of road, there's a shit ton of people that, you know what I mean, that should be winning awards or being on, certain accolades and stuff like that. And I don't know, man. I've always wanted to have like this thing of like, how J. Cole did like that project where it was a bunch of artists and stuff. I'm forgetting the name of it, but I want that, but for the city of Toronto. Like everyone
Like
knows.
Revenge of the Dreamers and all that.
Yeah, Revenge of the Dreamers. And I want everyone to like, it's like, oh, I know that person. I know that. Oh, you need something. I know someone that could do that for you. And like, I want, to be some kind of unity rather than everyone, like, not everyone. I mean, there's, like I said, some people that try and take the top spot, but realistically, it's like, man, like, we're all in this shit together. We're all trying to get to the same goal, and we all got to get there at the same time. Well, not true. We don't got to get there at the same time, but we all want to get there. So let's help each other out rather than gatekeeping.
Yeah, likewise, 100% too. So I definitely agree either way. With everything going on in the world and all that too, with music and everyone else too, there are people that do want to like tap into like certain artists, like that want to like get to know like certain people, like like just finding like a new find like within music too. And for someone that hasn't heard about you before and all that, name 3 songs in your catalog that you recommend for any person that wants to know more about you, that might not know about you, but like they want to know more about you. And
honestly, I would probably go start with Loving You. It's the kind of old school meets new school sound that I want to keep making. And I think it's a good start for people to kind of get a glimpse of my production and see what my vocal sounds like without it being like altered or like pitched up or anything like that. The next song I might do like 2 a.m. featuring Joyia. I think it's like a nice late night R&B vibe if you're on a drive or if you're at like a party or something like that. And Your Heart with Aria Blue as well. Again, another like love song, I would say, kind of like a love anthem, or definitely something that you like cruise around to like on a date. But yeah, man, I just want to make songs that make people vibe and that make people feel like they're in love. That's the vibe.
I definitely agree too. And like I have like a playlist thing called like TLOY's Rising Acts. I've started promoting it like more this like year and all that with like artists to check out like on the playlist and all that. And yeah, like I've already like did the editing for my May one right now and all that too. And then I'll probably like add like some of the songs that you mentioned like for the June like spot for the playlist. So
yeah, man. Thank you, man.
I'll keep you posted. As far as like everything else too, like I know like you have the single coming up by like the end of May and all that too, Passenger Princess. But what else do you have going on in terms of like creative projects and so forth? And do you have any like closing remarks you'd like to say?
Yeah, man, for sure. I mean, first of all, thank you for having me. This is a super cool experience. I don't know, I always like the idea of people wanting to know what I'm up to, because I always feel like I'm ghost. Like I live in the middle of nowhere. People don't know what I'm up to. So opportunities like this, I'm appreciative for that. But yeah, no, definitely go check out Passenger Princess. I will have a release date. It's going to be at the end of May, so keep an eye out. But as of right now, I definitely want to, I'm starting this multimedia company. It's called 1848 Media. And I essentially can either take photos for you, make videos for you. I can produce beats for you, write, handle your vocal arrangements, all that shit. And rather than kind of just like having it all in different services, it's like, all right, cool, let me put all this in one spot. So that's going to be available at some point for you to check out this year. So that'll be in the works. And then, yeah, man, check out Passenger Princess.
And they could follow you at Chris X Chant on IG, right?
That is right. Chris X John. That's the one.
True. All right, Chris, it was a pleasure having you, man. Like, a dope experience, just talking about life and all that, talking about music, songs, like all that type of stuff too. Like, even like life experiences too and all that. And, we'll definitely have you back on soon, like for the platform and all that.
Thanks, man.
For another podcast or anything like that too. But yeah, man. This is Josh, also known as Yashu, episode 87 of TLOY Talks. You can get this on all platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Buzzsprout, much more and all that. Definitely keep you updated for the 90th and for the 100th episode too. So definitely stay tuned for that and all that. And hey, this is Chris with Chris Chant and all that. This is Josh, also known as Yashu of TLOY Talks, signing off.